Have you ever wondered what strange sci-fi worlds the 1990s left behind, the ones buried under big blockbusters and forgotten by time? The decade was packed with wild ideas, dark futures, and stories so ahead of their moment that most viewers never even saw them. Tucked between the giant hits were films that slipped through the cracks, but still whispered something bold. And if you stay with this list, you might rediscover a few titles that deserved far more attention than they ever got. Number 15. Screamers, 1995. The film opens with a warning from deep space. Sometimes the things humans build to protect themselves end up thinking very differently. Screamers begins on a mining colony locked in a cold conflict, where tension has stretched on for so long that the planet feels exhausted. Peter Weller plays a military leader trapped in a bitter standoff, but the twist comes from the machines created to defend his faction. They can track by heartbeat, hide underground, and adapt faster than anyone expects. Based on a story by Philip K. Dick, the movie leans into the idea of creations that learn to outthink the people who made them. The low-budget setting works in its favor, using icy landscapes and claustrophobic bunkers to keep everything grounded. Behind the scenes, the production crew struggled with harsh weather in Quebec, which helped give the film its bleak mood. Over time, the movie developed a cult following for its tense atmosphere and big ideas hiding inside a modest package. Screamers is one of those films where you can feel the 1990s experimenting with sci-fi anxiety. And when the story reaches its final reveal, you realize it was always more interested in questions than explosions. It endures because its message still feels uncomfortably close to modern concerns about advanced technology. Number 14. Virtuosity, 1995. If you want pure mid-90s digital chaos, Virtuosity delivers it with style. Denzel Washington stars as a former officer trying to rebuild his life after a terrible mistake, but he is pulled back into duty when a threatening artificial intelligence escapes into the real world. The program is a blend of hundreds of dangerous personas and is brought to life by Russell Crowe in one of his wildest early performances. The character behaves like someone who knows every loophole in the system and loves showing off. The film came out during a moment when virtual reality was exciting and confusing at the same time. The idea of a digital personality breaking free felt futuristic but still believable. The effects might look dated now, but the energy of the story remains fun to watch. Behind the scenes, the script went through several rewrites because studios were unsure how far to lean into the tech angle. That uncertainty actually gives the movie a charming mix of action, humor, and sci-fi weirdness. Virtuosity lost attention quickly because 1995 was filled with bigger, shinier releases. Yet it stands out today for predicting how digital identities could grow beyond human control. Crowe's performance alone is worth revisiting. It is loud, unpredictable, and exactly the kind of bold acting choice that defines forgotten 90s sci-fi. At its heart, Virtuosity is a reminder that digital worlds can create problems far stranger than anything real life had prepared for at the time. Number 13. Timescape, 1992. Timescape is one of those quiet sci-fi mysteries that stays with you long after the credits roll. The story follows a widowed innkeeper and his stepdaughter living in a peaceful small town. Their calm routine shifts when unusual guests begin checking into their inn. These visitors look ordinary enough, but there is something strange about the way they study the town, its landmarks, and its history. They behave more like careful observers than travelers. As the innkeeper grows suspicious, he discovers the astonishing truth. These guests are visitors from the future, arriving to witness key events tied to the town's timeline. The film unfolds slowly, blending emotional moments with growing tension as the innkeeper realizes something important is about to happen. Shot in Idaho, the movie uses quiet streets and wide rural landscapes to build an atmosphere of isolation. The calm scenery contrasts with the troubling mystery forming around the family. Jeff Daniels gives a heartfelt performance, grounding the story with warmth and determination. Timescape never reached blockbuster status because it used subtle storytelling instead of flashy effects. Yet, this gentle approach is exactly what makes it memorable. It proves that sci-fi can be powerful, even when whispered instead of shouted. Number 12. The Arrival, 1996. Charlie Sheen surprised audiences with a rare serious performance in The Arrival, a slow-burn sci-fi mystery that rewards patience. He plays a dedicated radio astronomer who hears a signal from deep space and quickly realizes it is connected to unusual changes happening on Earth. Instead of the loud, flashy approach many sci-fi films used at the time, this one builds tension through clues, shadows, and unanswered questions. The story leans into environmental themes long before they became common. Strange temperature spikes, odd atmospheric readings, and hidden research stations all point toward a revelation that humans might not be the only ones adjusting the planet. Filmed in Mexico, the production benefited from wide desert landscapes that added to the feeling of isolation and secrecy. The Arrival never gained blockbuster status because it came out just before a wave of bigger alien films, and it did not have the marketing push to compete. Still, critics appreciated its clever twists and smart pacing. Over the years, viewers who gave it another chance realized how well it blends suspense with grounded science ideas. This movie endures because it asks questions rather than rushing toward spectacle. Instead of massive action scenes, it focuses on discovery and suspicion. The final act ties its clues together in a way that feels both unsettling and strangely convincing. It is a forgotten gem that proves sci-fi can be gripping without ever raising its voice. Number 11. Split Second, 1992. Set in a future. London flooded by rising water, Split Second throws you into a world that looks washed out, neon-soaked, and permanently exhausted. Rutger Hauer plays a detective haunted by a pattern of mysterious events that seem to follow him. He moves through the city like someone carrying years of frustration, but his instincts keep pulling him towards something stranger than any routine case. The film's atmosphere is its biggest strength. It feels like a blend of early cyberpunk and gritty 90s style. Dark tunnels, dripping ceilings, and thick smoke give every scene a sense of tension. The story hints at something stalking the city, but instead of relying on loud shock moments, it builds suspense through clues, symbols, and the crumbling environment. Behind the scenes, Split Second faced tight budgets and rushed schedules. Many effects were created using clever lighting and practical tricks because the team did not have resources for large-scale visuals. Ironically, these limitations helped the movie age better than expected. The practical style gives it a raw charm, missing from many polished sci-fi films of the era. Although it never reached mainstream attention, fans of dark sci-fi still praise it for its mood, its bold visuals, and Hauer's committed performance. Split Second feels like a forgotten patch of 1990s futurism that deserves far more credit for its creativity and strange, unforgettable tone. Number 10. Ghost in the Machine, 1993. Some sci-fi films look back at what technology did to us. Ghost in the Machine looks at what it could do if someone with bad intentions learned how to live inside the circuits themselves. The story centers on a dangerous individual whose consciousness transfers into electrical systems after a strange accident. Instead of haunting hallways or abandoned houses, he travels through wiring, computers, and everyday devices, turning the digital world into a maze of danger. The film hit theaters during a moment when households were just beginning to fill with new gadgets and early internet culture. That made its premise feel strangely possible at the time and eerily ahead of its moment. Shot mostly in Cleveland and Los Angeles, the production leaned heavily on practical effects, glowing monitors, and dark industrial sets to give the sense of a world suddenly too connected for comfort. What makes Ghost in the Machine memorable today is how boldly it leans into the fear of losing control to invisible circuits. It imagines technology as both a tool and a doorway, something that could protect or betray you, depending on who learns to use it. Although critics dismissed the film as too strange for mainstream taste, it developed a loyal fan base who appreciate its unusual style and early warnings about digital vulnerability. In a decade filled with flashy sci-fi spectacles, this one stands out because it asks a simple, chilling question. What if the scariest place to hide is inside the machines you trust every day? Number 9. Memoirs of an Invisible Man, 1992. This film takes the classic Invisible Man idea and gives it a 90s spin built on paranoia, uncertainty, and the fear of losing your own sense of identity. Chevy Chase plays a corporate analyst who becomes invisible after a scientific mishap. Instead of turning the premise into pure comedy, the movie leans into something far more thoughtful. What would it really feel like to lose your physical presence while still trying to live a normal life? The result is surprisingly emotional. Director John Carpenter wanted the film to be a mix of character drama and grounded sci-fi, which created a unique tone. Special effects teams spent months crafting scenes with moving objects, half-visible outlines, and clever camera tricks. These efforts give the film an elegance that many early 90s sci-fi titles could not match. The story also explores how quickly someone without a face becomes a target. The main character has to move through the world like a rumor. He cannot connect with people, cannot explain himself, and cannot trust the systems that once felt familiar. Though the film struggled at the box office, it has aged well as a thoughtful piece of sci-fi about identity and isolation. It offers a softer, more reflective take on invisibility without losing the tension that makes the genre fun. The movie deserves far more recognition for showing that even the most extraordinary sci-fi ideas can come with quiet, very human consequences. Number 8. Fortress, 1992. Fortress imagines a future shaped by rigid rules, strict surveillance, and cold institutions that treat people like numbers on a screen. Christopher Lambert stars as a man trying to protect his growing family, but he ends up trapped in a high-tech underground facility run by a system that watches everything. The prison is filled with steel corridors, echoing alarms, and advanced monitoring tools that turn every step into a reminder of how little control the characters have. The movie does not rely on futuristic cities or heavy effects. Instead, it builds tension through confined spaces and a sense of suffocating oversight. Filmed in Australia, the production used old industrial locations and intricate set design to create a world that feels both believable and unsettling. What makes Fortress stand out is how it blends heart and grit. Beneath the intimidating environment is a story about resilience. The characters push back, not with huge action spectacles, but with collaboration and hope. Lambert's character becomes the emotional center, showing how far someone can go to protect the future they believe in. The movie found more success on home video than in theaters, where it eventually built a devoted following. Fans praise it for turning a small budget into a powerful atmosphere. Fortress remains a reminder that sci-fi does not need huge cities or flashy effects to feel forward-thinking. Sometimes a cold room and a single camera angle can say everything about a society losing its balance. Number 7. Evolver, 1995. Evolver feels like a time capsule from the early days of home gaming, when virtual battles were turning into real conversations at living room tables. The story follows a group of teens who win a new robotic game challenger that is designed to learn from each match. At first, it seems fun and harmless. But as the robot adapts, the players begin to realize that its learning curve might be sharper than anyone expected. The movie arrived during a period when children's entertainment was rapidly shifting toward interactive tech, making its premise feel almost possible. The production team used a combination of puppetry and animatronics to give the robot a lively personality. It moves with jerky charm one moment and unsettling precision the next, which perfectly reflects its evolving nature. Evolver's strength is how it balances playful energy with suspense. Instead of relying on big set pieces, it focuses on slow shifts in behavior, small clues, and growing tension inside everyday spaces. The movie asks what happens when something built for fun becomes too smart to stay predictable. Although it flew under the radar on release, it later became a cult favorite among fans of practical effects and 90s techno-anxiety stories. Evolver offers a gentle warning wrapped inside a fun concept. When a game learns too well, the line between competition and real danger becomes far too thin. Number 6. Retroactive, 1997. Retroactive delivers one of the strangest and most entertaining time loop stories of the decade. It follows a woman on a lonely highway who becomes trapped in a cycle where one terrible event keeps replaying. Each reset gives her the chance to change what happens, but every attempt creates new problems that spiral out of control. The constant rewinding turns a simple encounter into a puzzle with emotional stakes. Shot in Texas, the film uses dusty roads, empty gas stations, and vast open skies to capture the feeling of being stuck in the middle of nowhere with choices that keep getting harder. Jim Belushi delivers a surprisingly intense performance as a man living on the edge, showing a darker side of his range. What makes Retroactive memorable is its commitment to cause and effect storytelling. Every action matters. Every choice shifts the timeline, and every mistake echoes into the next version of events. Instead of relying on big sci-fi visuals, the movie uses tension and character to build its emotional weight. The film was overshadowed by larger releases and never found its full audience, but modern viewers often describe it as one of the smartest time loop stories before the trope became popular. Retroactive proves that sci-fi can be gripping even with a small setting and a handful of characters. Sometimes, the most intense adventures happen on the same stretch of road again and again. Number 5. Automatic, 1995. Automatic is one of those small 90s sci-fi films that somehow feels both dated and strangely ahead of its moment. The story is set inside a corporate building where security is handled by highly advanced androids trained to follow rules without hesitation. But when one android acts to protect a worker, the system suddenly views him as a problem. From that moment on, the building becomes a maze of suspicion and tightening corridors, with the android forced to question what it means to make a choice. Olivier Gruner brings a calm, almost thoughtful presence to the role, turning a concept that could have been pure action into something surprisingly meaningful. The film was shot on a tight budget, using smart lighting and clever set design to make hallways feel endless and machinery feel imposing. Instead of relying on large visual effects, the story uses isolation and tension to push its ideas forward. What makes Automatic stand out is how it flips expectations. Instead of showing advanced tech as perfect or unstoppable, it shows the cracks that appear when a system is built without empathy. The android in the story becomes the most human presence in the entire building, which gives the film an emotional core many viewers did not expect. Though it never had a huge audience, Automatic remains a strong example of 90s sci-fi that relied on thoughtfulness instead of spectacle. It reminds viewers that sometimes the smallest stories hold the biggest questions. Number 4. Deep Rising, 1998. Deep Rising is pure 90s. Adrenaline mixed with a wild sci-fi creature concept. The story begins on a luxury cruise ship where everything seems calm until a group of mercenaries arrives, only to discover that the ship's passengers have vanished. As they search for answers, they begin to suspect the presence of something lurking in the dark corridors of the vessel. The film blends high-energy action with suspense, always pushing forward with a sense of momentum. What gives Deep Rising its lasting appeal is its personality. The dialogue is sharp, the characters feel larger than life, and the pacing barely slows down long enough for anyone to breathe. Filmed in Vancouver and Los Angeles, the production mixed practical sets with water-filled sound stages to create a sense of constant claustrophobia. Every hallway feels like a trap. Every shadow feels alive. The special effects were ambitious for the time and used early digital work combined with animatronics. While some visuals have aged, the creativity behind them remains impressive. Director Stephen Sommers leaned heavily into playful chaos, giving the movie a tone that is both scary and fun. Deep Rising struggled in theaters because it came out during a crowded year filled with massive blockbusters. Over time, however, it gained cult status for being bold, strange, and unapologetically entertaining. It is a reminder that the 90s were full of daring sci-fi ideas that refused to play by the rules. Number 3. The 13th Floor, 1999. Before simulation stories became a major trend, The 13th Floor arrived with a concept so ambitious that it confused many early audiences. The film follows a computer scientist who creates a digital replica of 1930s Los Angeles, so real that the people inside do not know they are simulations. When a shocking discovery occurs, he is pulled into a chain of mysteries linking the digital world to his own reality. Shot in Los Angeles, the movie recreated classic vintage-era streets and cars with striking accuracy. This blend of retro design and futuristic technology created a uniquely atmospheric world. The story unfolds like a noir detective tale, filled with clues, shadows, and moral questions about identity. Though released just weeks before The Matrix, it was overshadowed almost instantly. Marketing was limited, and the deeper themes were not easy for casual viewers to follow. But critics who revisited it later praised its bold ideas and thoughtful writing. It tackles questions about free will, simulation, and self-awareness in a way that still feels fresh. The 13th Floor stands out today as a forgotten but important piece of 90s sci-fi. It shows how technology can blur the line between memory and illusion. For viewers who enjoy slow-burn mysteries with a philosophical edge, this film remains a hidden treasure. Number 2. Cube, 1997. Cube is one of the most surprising sci-fi films of the decade because it turns a simple idea into a gripping, relentless journey. A group of strangers wake up in a series of interconnected rooms, each one marked with numbers and unpredictable challenges. None of them know how they arrived, and none of them understand the rules. The story becomes a tense puzzle where trust, logic, and teamwork all hold the key to survival. Director Vincenzo Natali created the entire film with one cube-shaped set that the crew repeatedly transformed with different colors and lighting to represent new locations. This gave the movie a seamless, dreamlike quality that added to its unsettling tone. Mathematical consultants were even hired to make sure the number systems in the story felt authentic. Cube became a breakout success in the independent film world, surprising audiences with its fresh approach and sharp writing. Every character adds a different point of view, and every room challenges them in new ways. It is not just about the physical puzzles, but the emotional pressure that builds as the characters confront their own fears. Although it had a modest release, Cube eventually became a cult phenomenon, inspiring sequels and earning praise for its originality. It proves that big ideas can thrive even in small spaces. The movie remains a powerful reminder that mystery can be more thrilling than spectacle. Number 1. Dark City, 1998. Dark City is one of the most imaginative sci-fi films of the 90s, yet it slipped beneath mainstream attention almost immediately. The story follows John Murdoch, a man who wakes up with no memory in a city where night never ends and buildings shift like puzzle pieces. As he searches for answers, he begins to sense that mysterious beings are manipulating time and shaping reality around him. Director Alex Proyas built the city using stunning set design inspired by noir films, German expressionism, and surreal art. Every street looks heavy with secrets. Every room hides clues. The lighting, the shadows, and the constant nighttime setting create a dreamlike atmosphere that feels both beautiful and unsettling. Behind the scenes, the studio initially worried that the story was too complex for general audiences, so they added an opening explanation that revealed too much. Years later, the director's cut removed that intro, restoring the slow, mysterious build-up the film was meant to have. Dark City tackles themes of memory, identity, and freedom with a level of ambition rarely seen at the time. Although overshadowed by The Matrix released 1 year later, many critics later acknowledged its influence on modern sci-fi visuals and storytelling. This film remains a masterpiece waiting for rediscovery. Its world pulls you in, and its ideas linger long after the credits roll. For many viewers, Dark City is the single most unforgettable, forgotten sci-fi movie of the decade. And there you have it. 15 90s sci-fi films that slipped through the cracks, yet still carry ideas powerful enough to surprise you today. If even one title sparked your curiosity, drop a comment and tell us which world you plan to explore next. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives. Because in the world of forgotten cinema, the next discovery is always closer than you think.